Okay, Industrial Revolution, big thing, started basically the mass production of goods in the entire world. Big
Yeah,
key players, Eli Whitney and Andrew Carnegie.
yeah. Eli
Eli,
Whitney's cotton gin was really big in the 1790s to all the way up until around the 1860s.
Yeah, the Industrial
Whenever,
Revolution brought several new inventions into just our world, and honestly, they kind of influenced how we do stuff today. Like, I'm pretty sure the Industrial Revolution is where they first invented, people working in like what was it, like an assembly line
yeah,
to
that was
get
yeah,
things.
Eli Whitney with interchangeable parts. That was probably the biggest invention for 300 years at that point.
Yeah,
In
and
reality, just because it mass produced everything, everything's price went down exponentially.
yeah,
yeah,
and it also made it easier to obtain goods because there was just so many of them. And it also influenced like companies such as even like Tesla today with their automated assembly line for making automated like making Teslas automatically um versus just back in the day when they used, people.
yeah. And then the key inventions within the Industrial Revolution, these are pretty big though for the time being, were like the steam engine, the spinning jenny, the power loom, and then other machines that revolutionized textile manufacturing because textile manufacturing was a huge, huge deal in the 18th and 19th century. And they were big on that because those machines were used a lot and it helped a lot of workers get their work done faster and more efficient. And then I
Yeah,
feel
and
like it also would have caused less injuries within the workplace as
yeah,
well.
I mean, you have to think about that. Things like textiles, they used to be made by hand. Like people used to have to spend hours just sewing things, like a carpet, for example, when now they could use just a machine to
Yeah,
help
a
them get the
simple
job done a
machine.
lot quicker.
Yeah, like a simple machine could literally just make a carpet in like a couple minutes, maybe max of like an hour, I feel. But like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it helped workers get their jobs done faster and it produced a lot more. So honestly, this probably made a big economic boost depending on the countries that had these machines. So they probably became more powerful due to these technologies.
Yeah, you do
And
have to
then
keep in mind though that like industrializing your country is like it takes a lot of money to get all the necessary machines and all that sort of stuff. Because those things were very expensive. I mean, they were new, and an entire machine probably costed like a lot of money in their like during their time, especially compared to now, where you can probably buy like I mean, where we all have machines such as like an oven in our house. I mean, maybe not everybody, but like it's definitely widely available versus then when like only like really the big companies had access to these things.
I mean, you got to
yeah,
think even television, like even like into like the end of the Industrial Revolution, they were super hard to produce. And not very many people had them, or radios, I would say, because that would be more in tune to the time period. And then you get to the 50s, and radios were mass produced super cheaply based on the same principles, but like technology just got better.
yeah. It also got better in agricultural areas. So farmers benefited majorly from these inventions, such as the mechanical reaper, the cotton gin, and steam powered plows, and increased productivity and higher crop yields. The cotton gin honestly helped because you used to have to pick out the seeds by hand, which would cut your fingers. And then you'd have blood all over your fingers, which could lead to infection. And then back then, gangrene was a big, big, big disease, which literally led to you having to get parts of your body amputated. And there was no anesthesia back in the day, so they literally just would saw it off while you could feel everything.
Yeah, and
So I
when
feel
all
like,
this came in, like I'm pretty sure people were afraid that like many of their jobs would get replaced by just machinery. However, that was not the case as we've seen. Like instead of the people doing manual jobs, they just like shifted to working with the machine and to like into making the same thing pretty much because like they're just producing a higher yield of things like crops.
Yeah. And then increased use of machines, though, however, and mass production did lead to the displacement of many skilled workers, while the growth of factory work and long hours led to poor working conditions and then lower wages, just due to the machines basically doing all your work, so they would take away the workers' money. So workers honestly got a little bit worse with the invention of some of these machines. And basically, we're just working 12 hours a day for almost little to no money.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, when these inventions came in, people were very quick to incorporate these into their businesses. However, not many people really knew how to operate them, which could lead to several injuries. And these were probably very dangerous, like pieces of machinery.
Yeah, mortality rate was pretty high considering everything. Wounds happened very often, and there was no like workers' compensation. So if it happened, it happened if you were just out of a job. But I wanted to go into the fact the Industrial Revolution led to urbanization from a new way to make steel, which was able to make cities go upwards instead of outwards, like they had been for centuries before.
Yeah, especially cities like New York, they just wouldn't be possible if we didn't have steel. I mean, like other types of metal just wouldn't be able to support the amount of weight and the amount of stress that those materials have to handle while being in a building that like goes super high up. And like that just leads to more production and more people, more space, because you can fit a lot more people into one area by just expanding into almost the infinite sky.
Yeah. And the impact that it had on businesses was the increased efficiency. Like the use of these machines and manufacturing processes, it allowed businesses to produce goods quicker and with like less labor. So it increased efficiency and productivity. So workers would work like a lot faster. They get a lot more done, and businesses would prosper from these machines because they would just get the job done a lot faster than if it was manual labor.
Well, that's a wrap, guys. Bye.